So, okay. Avoid legal snakes by telling people they are being recorded. So I'm guessing that it's picking you up then as well, because it wouldn't, or it's at least picking up your audio. Okay, so yeah, wanted to talk about Armies on Parade and start a little kind of video blog between the two of us, help with motivation, progress, sounding out ideas, and just an excuse to chat. So if you're not familiar with Armies on Parade, it's a annual kind of contest held by Games Workshop, or specifically the one we're talking about is, where you enter a painted army. Doesn't have to be a battle legal army, it can be pretty much anything from what I understand, on a board that's 2 foot by 2 foot. It's on a set day in October.
It changes.
A day at the end of the year, towards the end. In store, and a lot of places it's kind of first come first serve. Some might have bookings, whatever. The shop that you've featured at before is the Birmingham shop, and it's just a first come first served, and that's what they've told me when I've called before. So it's pretty open to what you want to do, boards wise, army wise, paint wise. Some people take it very, very seriously. Some people just do it just to show off their army, their new thing, or just to be part of the community and get into it. So I'll just ask you to just very briefly go through the 2 years you've done it, and what it is for you, what it was, and what this year will be.
So, I mean, I've been back playing and painting Warhammer for 3.5 years now. So in 2018, I decided to enter Armies on Parade, just because it seemed like a really good thing to work towards and to focus a project around. And I made a sort of slightly converted dwarf army for Age of Sigmar. It wasn't at the time, but it would now be a Cities of Sigmar army. And there were these, and I made this board that was a huge tree. I'll get it out one time.
I'll pop a picture in the links or the comments or whatever. But yeah, it was a massive tree, not just because they were dwarves. It was
like the corner of a tree that's supposed to be like 500 foot tall, with like walkways around it, and a sort of entrance built into the ground, and the dwarves marching out that entrance, and some of them on walkways and that sort of thing. And that
was your entry level first year. My first try.
My first go at Armies on Parade was pretty intense, and it won that year. Although it wasn't, there wasn't a huge amount of people at the Birmingham one in 2018. One of the reasons I don't think they've bothered with bookings is because, so for example, next year, 2019, I entered again. There was a better showing, but it was still like 7 people entered. So they could, and the store could probably do about 14, I think. But that year I did, I switched to 40k, and I did a Tyrannid board, which is this big snowy cave system where Tyranids were swarming through this cave and coming out the top, and you could look in to the cave system and see the Tyranids coming up.
I'll put one of the better pictures on the bottom, and a link to your Instagram, which I think has got everything on there anyway.
Yes, and those pictures were really, my pictures for that one were really popular. Surprised me.
Well, you put lighting into the base.
Yeah.
So as well as doing, wonderful object source lighting, you also just cheated and put some LEDs in there to just throw some green light because,
that's the way.
I mean, real doesn't always look as real when it's next to all the painted stuff. As I've realized lots of times when I've gone, oh, I'm going to add this metal thing that is a great miniature version of a metal thing, and then you put it next to your painted stuff, and it doesn't have the same matte, it doesn't have the same finishing. Just like, I now have to paint that thing and make it look less real to make it more real. Like, I don't know if it's like a weird uncanny valley thing, but you have to kind of push it into the art style of the rest of the thing.
Well, the other advantage of temporary lighting rather than painting it on is because it was only for that display. Like those models come out, and then it would be weird if they were glowing green.
Why is the left-hand side of some of your models green? Yeah, it's and that's one nice thing about the way you've done Armies on Parade is your guys are movable, they're playable. You could use those models. We've talked briefly before about like using the boards, but they're absolutely massive, and it would take so much work to kind of build or add them. I still think there's something there for other things, but some people, pardon me, stick their models down. Some people go full diorama style, and there's like imposed deaths and other models from other armies or factions in there as well that I've seen in some of the pictures. But it's
still quite rare for people to fix it down. Like I do think the spirit of it is show off your collection. If you happen, put it on a nice board rather than build a diorama. I mean, a lot of it ends up very diorama-ish when you go.
And I think the big diorama ones are the ones that tend to get shared a lot because they are very impressive.
Yeah.
And like I said, when you talked to me about trying to enter last year, it was very much we'll just show people your army, get more people to see your thing, engage in the community. And you'd said, like, you can literally just turn up with a board. Like, it doesn't need to be painted. There's no stipulation about that. It's just an army on display. So I could have just rocked up with a 24-inch by 24-inch MDF board and popped it on there.
And if you want to, you have a 2 foot by 2 foot space, and they suggest you do a board.
Yeah.
Like if you want to, and I'd say if you were going to do a really basic board, I'd just
turn up,
just not do a board. Not do a board. And in some ways, I kind of wish that was talked about more, because if you talk to anyone about Armies on Parade, and like in the stores, and they sort of kind of want to do it, but the thing that puts them off is doing a board. Like they've got an army, it's sort of ready to go, but they're like, oh, I can't be bothered to do a display board. And like I've built big ones, but it is difficult to then store a display board.
Yeah, I completely understand. And like that was the thing. Like I had the models that I wanted to display and a kind of style, but then I got stuck making hedges and doing stuff. I was just smiling because my phone just vibrated and it's still in the arm. So the whole, like all the springs vibrated and there was this nice resonant sound afterwards.
This is a camera arm that Nathan's second, well, your phone is attached to for recording.
Yeah. For recording a WQ or Warhammer Quest game tomorrow. Just to date this is during the first lockdown for COVID-19.
Well,
optimistically,
if we do multiple of these, I thought you'd name it Armies on Parade 2020X.
2020X.
Because one, we don't know
if there's going to be one.
We don't know if there's going to be one this year. Two, it means that we could continue the format if we wanted to do it for the next year. And then what it would hold well for the 20s, and then for the 30s, because we'll definitely be doing this then. the X is 11 or 10. It just adds
Yeah.
up.
Because why not? So this year you're working on another board. You briefly showed me the ideas yesterday, and it feels more reusable or modular. It's not, and again, just to let people know, your tyranny board was the full 2 foot by 2 foot square. But then, how tall was it?
It's about 1.5 foot tall.
So
well.
just
It's basically a cube.
Yeah.
It was really difficult to carry
and transport. So if you are thinking, again, you could just buy a good battle mat, pick the section you like, or and cut that out, or just you don't even need a board, or just get a board and paint a very simple mud coloring or grey coloring cityscape, or just something very simple. There's no requirement for any of that. And then you can spend more time painting your minis. They're the best bit anyway. Although I love scenery and doing scenery, and scenery is super fun. The minis are the ones you use every time. They're the ones that have character that I don't want to say anthropomorphize because that's not the right word, but they're the ones you inhabit, that you empathize with.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you're not going to regret spending more time. I mean, well, you might starve, but there's a guy who entered at Birmingham in 2018 and 2019, and this isn't necessarily something attainable by everyone because it is a talent. He just did each year he just did like a matte painting for the board. So one year it was like these beast claw raiders on a ship, like an ice floe kind of thing. So he painted like an iceberg and waves around it. And then this year he did Skaven and just painted, like it did have a piece of terrain, it had like a tower on it, but the board was just flat, and he painted like cobblestones and things.
Yeah.
And it was.
And this is the thing: if that's your if that's what you want to do, you can paint that kind of thing, then you can do it. But you could just as easily go to like somewhere like Crooked Staff and get a load of their paper, and print out and make a 2D version of a town, or the impression of a town, or like I say, get a battle mat. Get a secondhand battle mat, and you don't even have to cut it. You could just roll it and have it for that bit. You can do anything within that 2 foot by 2 foot, as long as it's practical. And as Bobo was saying, like carrying something that's what did you say, a foot and a half tall?
Yeah, so
like,
6 cubic feet.
Yeah, 6 cubic feet of fairly delicate, something you have spent months on. I mean, just also, how wide is a doorway?
It does just fit through, but it's.
But then you can't hold it from the sides. Like
my dad helped me collect it, and he from the store, because I the way the car park works in Birmingham, the nearest one, it's got like a one-way door, so it's quite a short walk to get it in there. But when you want to get back, it's like
go all the way
4 or 5 times as long. So and it almost killed me the first bit. So I rang my dad. I was like, "Can you come to town? Because I'm not going to be able to get this back to my car." I probably could have asked someone at the store, but it's still quite an imposition. And also, if you kind of break it and drop it like my dad did, at least it's my dad.
Yeah.
Like, because in the end, I said, "Be careful with it," and he was like, "It just looks like a big solid thing." So he kind of picked it up by the cave.
Yeah.
And just broke a bunch of stuff off it. It's fixed now, but
because it looks so realistic. He thought, "Oh, this is just a big bit of stone. This isn't like foam or." So for myself, I wanted to enter last year to try and take your crown. at the same Birmingham branch, and I'd got my theme and my guys, and you'd kind of, not convince me, but like kind of talked up the idea of doing it and that it was fun. I'd got what I thought very simple board that I was going to do. And then I just kept making it more complicated and didn't give myself enough time. And something you'll get from the two of us, if anybody else ever watches this, is we like targets and like tracking and like, kind of have 1,000 projects on or have 1,000 ideas that keep coming and stuff like that. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this, is so we can just kind of exercise those ideas out of ourselves, talk about them with somebody else who's got that same kind of odd passion, and then some of them will just die. So I'm going to finish that this year. So it's a Death Guard army, which is my main army to play with at the moment, my only army at the moment. And it's based on a National Trust property by where we live, and it's a death garden. So it's as they're landing and corrupting this garden. So it's again very simple, one color base, little bit of brickwork at the one end, and a few hedges and a few flowers, and then some scatter terrain that I've made of some slime pools and cess puddles, and a bit of wither, a bit of damage, and then a load of plague marines. And I mean a load. I think I have 42 plague marines at the moment, or 42, 43 plague marines at the moment, and I'm trying to get to 7 squads of 7.
Yeah.
For the Nurgle. So anything expensive, I get 3 of them. Anything cheap, 7s is the order of the day. So I'm going for the same 7/7 on Poxwalker, so some of them might make an appearance as well. With my LOC at the centre, who, depending on time and how confident I feel, might be the demon that he turned to in a game recently.
Throw an epic game where, well, it wasn't. The game itself was fairly normal, but the Chaos Boon table, which I think would be the first. I think it was the first time you'd actually use the stratagem, and it's a 1 in 36 chance that you'll become a demon prince, and you just happen to.
So I think I just killed his.
It was the new Captain Lazarus, the
new Captain Lazarus, who I'd killed on a remote game before. So I smote him, turned into a demon prince, then tore through some dude on a bike or a lieutenant or some like another dude, and then charged his dreadnought and ripped its arms off and dribbled in the hole. Yeah, it was a very satisfying end to an otherwise just kind of normal Space Marine versus
dribbly Space Marine.
Space
Marine versus dribbly Space Marine.
Yeah, it was good. So that's it. We're both working on a one this year. Sorry, did you want to talk about this year's one? Who are you painting this year?
Yeah, so
it's one of the guys in. That I've got in shot right now.
Yeah, so I'm literally doing the person.
So it's a headless battalion of Stormcast Eternals.
Yeah, so I'm going back to Age of Sigmar this year. I might actually. I probably won't hold myself to this because I don't, but I would quite like to do 40k Age of Sigmar, 40k Age of Sigmar, just because it's nice to flip. So back to Age of Sigmar this year, Stormcast Eternals, and there are 2 elements that I'm going for. One is that I want the Stormcast army to be very well painted.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want it to be like my Tyranids were well painted, but they were still just to get the numbers out. There's an element of speed painting to it. Probably a lot longer than other people would spend still, but whereas this one, it's going to be an army where probably every model took between 5 to 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like there'll be one model in there that took 20 hours, which I've already done. So I want it to be really, really well painted, probably lower model count. And the other thing is, I don't want to make a board. I want to make terrain, and I want to try fill a 2 foot by 2 foot space, but with sort of modular parts that make a coherent landscape.
Mm-hmm.
That you'd probably second guess whether it was a board or not.
Yeah,
you'd look there and be like, oh, this is interesting. And I might do like a flat board to have like a certain color. Like say I want it to be on a sandy thing, I might literally knock up I've got some spare 2 foot by 2 foot bits of plywood, just sand over it, just something really simple. If once I put it together, I feel that it looks a bit odd coming out of nothing. But the point is, I don't want another behemoth of a display board taking up space in my house. And also, I've got a bunch of 40k terrain now, but I don't have much
Age of Sigmar
terrain. So it's a sort of this whole thing is about multiple birds with a couple of stones.
Yeah. No, I get it, and that's why. So mine will start as a 2 foot by 2 foot, just like say plywood board, with essentially a kind of mud soil coating on the entire bit. This wall structure that goes at one end that's slightly raised, but it won't be fixed to it. And then after this, I'm just going to add another foot to make a 2x3 kill team size board.
So I'm going to bring up, and we haven't mentioned it yet, and I can't find. I was trying to look up this article, but there was definitely an article on Warhammer Community that suggested that the next Armies on Parade, there will be different size allowances.
Okay.
You can either do 2 foot by 2 foot or a kill team board, because they sell, and not, it doesn't have to be a kill team board, but the kill team board size, I think because they sell these Warcry and kill team like terrain and board sets, it's actually a very good idea, really, as an entry. Like, in fact, they're great actually. They're like, we use them for kill team games as an entry way into it. Now, the stores tend to be made up of neat 2 foot by 2 foot spaces, so I don't know how it will work. But
maybe that's something that the stores are going to move towards to allow more in-store kill team games, because it is a quicker game. It's a starter drug. Maybe, I don't know. We'll let them worry about it. But for me, that was the idea. And then, so one side will be this mud paint, and then the other will get something else, because I like to be able to flip my boards over to have a basic color job underneath. One thing I have noticed when I tried to do a lot of sand on an area, when you then put terrain that has got a perfectly flat base, you get a weird shadowing effect.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at like felt edging, which basically just kind of muffles that ever so slightly.
Yeah.
But you either do the whole thing, which is relatively easy, or you do the edge, which is a faff. And then it's just constantly snagging and picking up rubbish. So it's one of those, like, where do you draw the line of, realism, believability, suspension of disbelief? So that's today. We'll probably share more pictures as we go on. I've got some work in progress stuff from last year, a lot of sketches, some this is the actual place that I'm trying to kind of replicate as if Plague Marines turned up here. What would it look like? I've seen some sketches from yourself. You've got some guys to show. So we'll do these updates probably, like I say, fairly regularly, just so we can talk to each other. Like I said, we're in quarantine for first quarantine for COVID-19. So we're just trying to stay sane by talking to somebody, and this is something we can talk about, and it will help keep us motivated. We both have Warhammer tracker sheets in Excel. We both have percentages for done and what we're doing. We're both mad. We both have young families, and we're both, I don't know,
white males.
White males, yes. We both identify as white and male. Both heterosexual.
Why not add our voices to,
yeah,
to
like,
the cloud?
You know, if there's anything the world needs, two more straight dudes talking to each other about a niche thing. But again, this is really like, you know, we both have Instagrams. I don't think either of us are going to promote this on there. This is literally a kind of trying to keep up a motivation, talk to each other, and push through to this, especially for me, because last year I ended up doing so many other weird little projects. Instead of finishing my board, I never got around to finishing my board. And that might have been a procrastination thing to avoid any kind of judgment of actually having to show my models to anybody. But the guaranteed, you know, what's the right word? Compliment generator that is one of our friends, Bobo, who's always encouraging, and, you know, somebody who doesn't tell the truth. But yeah, so Armies on Parade 2020X. Speak to you soon. Ba, 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 ba. This is the outro music. Ba, da, ba, ba, do, ba.